ready.
I don't know if my elbows are on the table.
Stand by.
Almost nobody did.
Give me a reshoot. It's pretty slow. I'll take a reshoot.
Almost nobody did.
All right, welcome back to the off season. I got another review for you. This one is going to be about the FN Reflex, which is not this gun. I bought it from a friend, so I didn't bring it home with me. I met her at the range. Thank you, Jake Wallen, for letting me borrow your gun. Shot it at the range with some of my bug ammo in an ASI match, the Senior Classic, the 2024 Senior Classic. The Senior Classic, I'll talk more about that as we get into this. But before I let you see a few more stages, I want to tell you that Mike of Team DZ214, second place, distinguished senior. Again, I know he did it one year. He said it wasn't last year. He said it was another year, but I think it was last year. But second place, distinguished senior, CO division. So awesome work, Mike. Yeah, we'll talk more about the FN Reflex when we come back. We'll look at a few more stages. I filmed a quick impromptu tabletop or over the top at the range. We'll look at that. A few more stages after that. We'll come back with pros and cons. All right, here we are over the top of the gun, just to get you a little bit of a look at it. This is the FN Reflex. I don't have the box, the bug box. Nick has inherited the title of Bug Boy, so he's got the box. He's running bug for the next couple of years, I think. The sights are okay. They're not like the best thing in the world, not the worst thing in the world. I like it. The front sight is orange, but I don't care for the rear sight. But yeah, other than that, it fits in. I'm fairly certain it'll fit in the box. We have an 11 round mag and 10 round mags. They don't appear to be too different in size, but Washington State, one's legal and one's not. So that's just how it is. Let's take a look at a few more stages and we'll come back with the pros and cons at the end. Man, that mag doesn't go in. All right, so those are the stages. It was pretty good. This is a fun match. We do this every year. This is the ASI Senior Classic, or the old guy match, as we call it. It was a ton of fun. And this is it's ASI, so it's a little bit low key. It's like IDPA, but like I said, it's a little bit low key, and it's this is a cool way for like there's there are awards for this match, but only the awards, there's like one award for whippersnappers, which is people 50 and below. Everything else, the only divisions and special categories that are subject for awards are Senior, I think, is 50 to 59. Super Senior is 50 or 60 to, I can't remember, 60 or 65 or 69, but the Super Senior and then Distinguished Senior is anything above that. I think it's 70 above is Distinguished Senior, but it's a pretty cool match, and it's always a great time. Anybody can come out and shoot it, but the awards are only for the distinguished seniors, or those a little bit up there in years. Like I said, a fun match. But yeah, let's get into a few of the pros for the FN Reflex. First pro, it comes optic cut, so that's a boon over the regular 365. Most of the 365 options that have come out since the original 365 also come optics cut, and they even got with the times. As at first it was the remove the sight plate, remove the rear sight, but now most of them come like the 380. The rear sight stays, so all good things, but it does come optic cut or optic ready, and it's the RMSC footprint from what I could find about it. I didn't put a dot on it. I shot it in with irons, but it's the RMSC footprint, which makes sense in these small guns. I call this a carry dot on Facebook, and I got a lot of hate for it. Like, what's a carry dot? Well, it's just a dot that you put in a carry gun. I didn't think it was that big of a thing, but apparently that's not a term that's used widely. So, but it's one I use. The trigger is good, but it's not amazing. I would put it above a stock 365, but below any of the tacticaltriggers.com or mcarbo triggers that I've put into my 365s. I think I've got a few ones that are stock. The AXG Legion SCU is still stock, so it's probably a step above that, with just a little bit more squish. I don't know if that's a result of it being a hammer-fired gun or what, but a little bit squishy. But overall, a good trigger, probably out of the box. Like I said, better than a 365 SCU out of the box, but not as good as some of the worked over triggers. So something to keep in mind. I don't know. I haven't looked into it whether or not. I doubt it, but I don't think there's anybody out there like making a FN Reflex trigger kit. But maybe that's on you to take a look for that. The sights. So the front sight is orange, which I appreciated. That's the orangish red, and that's what I have on most of my guns. The 365s, I still run the X-Ray 3s, which is green, and they're big. This is kind of big, the front sight, but I can deal with it. That's what I want on a gun. But I'll get into the rear sight in the cons, because the rear sight is definitely a con. Missed the mark a little bit on that, but more to follow on that. But the front sight is good, and I think it's a night sight. So like I couldn't take it out at night because I borrowed the gun from my friend Jake Willen, and like I went into the safety area and like covered it and looked, and I think it was glowing in the dark, and maybe it just wasn't showing up as well for me. But I think it's a night sight. The rear was not though, so or at least from what I could tell, it was not. The bore axis is not too high. It seems like it's weird to have a pro that's like in the negative, but the bore axis is not too high. When I first heard about this gun and I was told that it's not a striker fired gun, it's a hammer fired gun, I thought like, these little packages, sometimes those, like the LCP Max and some of the LCPs, like I feel like the height over bore or it's just a little bit too high. Like the gun's sitting too high out of my hand, and I can't really like, the bore axis is a little high. But I didn't feel that, didn't notice that on this gun at all. So I think that for the most part, it's very similar to a 365. Even the specs are very nearly identical to a 365. So take a look at this. Yeah, so like other than a few of those dimensions, it's nearly the same as a 365. So on my 365, I've got the Wilson frame and the Wilson. Actually, Wilson didn't make this. I don't know where I got this base pad, but it's meant to line up with the grooves of the Wilson frame or the stippling, and it does. That's a little bit too long. I don't know if that'll fit in the box. I haven't put it in the box, but either way, it's almost the same as this 365, the dimensions of the FN Reflex. So like I said, Nick has the box. I didn't get to put it in the box, but I think that it's according to the specs, I don't think it would have any problem fitting in the box, even with the 11 round magazine or the 10 round magazine with the pinky base plate. I don't think it would have any problem fitting in the box. In fact, I know that it wouldn't, because my friend Jacqueline, she shoots bug with it, so I have to imagine she had a bunch of magazines for it. So good on her for having a bunch of them. But I don't think if they didn't fit in the box, then they would have been trimmed, and she would have made them fit. So yeah, it must fit. Okay, a few of the cons. Like I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it. The mags are both of the 10 and the 11 round mags. It was a little bit difficult to get the last mag in, or the last round in. And so I thought while I was shooting it, like I'm gonna load it up and see what happens. And in bug it wouldn't matter because you're only loading it to 6 rounds anyway. But it was a little tough to get the 10th or 11th round mag in, depending on which mag you're shooting. And I thought maybe that would make the gun malfunction, with as much tension and on that being pressed against the bottom of the chamber. But both the 10 and 11 round mags function just fine. So I guess quit being a weenie with your fingers and load them up all the way. And I'm saying that to myself. This one, the edges on the bottom of it are sharp, and it was kind of uncomfortable. So I'll post a picture of it, but it was really digging into my hand, and like it's not the end of the world, especially if it's going to be a carry gun. Like it's not going to bother you that much. But where the 365 kind of meets in the center of my palm here, the other one is right about here. So the difference is not much, but just enough where it's in the fatty, meaty part of my hand and digging me. I got a little blister there from shooting this thing that way, or with the edges of the magazine in that spot. So not a big deal. If you were to like shoot a bug nationals or shoot nationals in bug and you're shooting this for 15 stages, it might be an issue. But a carry gun, it's really not going to matter if it bites your hand a little bit, should you need to use it for a self-defense situation. Same complaint I have for a lot of bug guns. There's not really a good place to put my support hand thumb. So this is my 365 with the Go Guns gas pedal ledge, and it's not for necessarily controlling recoil, but it's just like someplace. So otherwise my thumb would be pushing up on the slide, and this is the same thing that it would be doing on the FN Reflex. It'd be pushing against the slide. It just gives me a place to put my thumb that is not on the frame, because there's not a lot of frame here, and it's not on the slide. So you could probably put your thumb on the slide and it wouldn't be a big deal. It would just, the slide would move out of the way when it needed to, and whatever. It might be a little uncomfortable on your thumb, but I don't like seems like when I'm trying to put my thumb down here on a gun that doesn't have a gas pedal, a little gun that doesn't have a gas pedal, it's kind of awkward and not in the right place. This gets it up a little bit higher and just into the right place. So like I said, the FN Reflex and like a lot of these little guns, there's just not really a good place to put your support hand thumb. So that's one con that I have for it, a complaint that I have for it. It's just, it is what it is. It's kind of the nature of shooting little guns, but whatever. Probably the biggest con for me was the rear sight. And so the front sight, perfect. It was, I'm fairly certain, and I probably should have looked it up, but I didn't, that it's a tritium insert with orange around the tritium piece. However, the rear sight, so good to go on the front sight, kind of like the Glock 43X, which is right there. That's what the Ameriglows are on mine, but the rear sight is 2 white dots, and they are not, from what I could tell, night sights. And so I most of the time when I'm shooting iron sights, it's red or orange up front and blacked out rear. And I haven't shot anything with a white rear sight in a long time, and the white seemed to draw my attention. So when I draw or pick it up off of a table at the ASI match, it was like I'm kind of doing this thing where my vision is going back and forth between the front sight and the rear sight, and it was just, it wasn't that big of a hindrance. It was just kind of annoying. So like I didn't care for the rear sight at all. If it were my gun and I was going to shoot it more, I would definitely change that out. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. It's a good gun. Is it something that I would carry? For sure. I would find it easily acceptable for a carry gun. Would it be something that I shoot in bug division? No. There's just, I think there's better guns out there. The 365 is still top of the heap for me. And even the Glock 26, the length of the FN Reflex the slide and the barrel length is a little bit longer than the 365, and I like that a little bit better. It reminded me, when I first picked it up, it reminded me of a Glock 26. I was like, oh, this is more like a 26 than a 365. But after going back and looking at the specs, it's not any wider. Like the 26 is a little bit wider, the slide's wider, but it's about the same width as a 365. But I think so. In retrospect, I think the length of the slide is what made me think that, because the 365, without the the comp on it, the one that I use for bug, is significantly longer than the regular 365. But yeah, guys, that's it. No big matches coming up. Kind of taking it slow for the end of the year. I'll probably have a few more reviews to do, and just kind of shoot random stuff and have fun. I know that the Western Washington regional is going to be a go in April, and then the state match, I think they're going to push it to August this year. But yeah, more to follow on that as that progresses. Yeah, if you have the time and the means, check out our website at www.dz-214.com, where you can donate to the veterans charities partner, our veteran charity partners, the ones that we sponsor to the sports. If you do that, I'd certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you out there on the range.